legacy, it lives on. Your courage, love, and wisdom will pass on to our children. When they share it far and wide, you will be the reason why their light shines so bright. I live out for you. Yes, I'm coming through. You can count on me too. I live up for you, all for you, all for you. I live up for you. Yes, I'm coming through. You can count on me too. I live up for you, all for you, all for you.
Greetings everyone, I hope everybody is enjoying this wonderful, wonderful day. I know me, myself, I'm so honoured to be part of this inspirational man's legacy, and I want to just give thanks and have a massive round of applause for Qian Zephaniah for all of this. It's absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. She's brought together so many high-frequency beings here today, and they've all shared all of their creativity, their talents, and it's just a beautiful thing. And the sun is literally shining down on all of us today to celebrate his amazing legacy. So I am so honoured and thankful. I'm going to be sharing a few of my own works, 11 songs. They're inspired by Mento music. The grandfather of reggae music was created through using everyday objects for basically whatever they had to hand, making something out of nothing. And this is what this project is all about, because I took everyday objects, vocal sounds and sounds from nature in order to create these tracks. And I hope you enjoy them. I hope you enjoy them. And if you do enjoy them and you want to delve deeper into the song's meanings, make sure to check out the music videos for them, because there's layers upon layers with these songs. The first song, though, I'm going to sing is all about a Windrush love story, so I hope you enjoy.
What's
Brunel. Greetings. I am so honoured to be here as a part of such an inspirational man's journey and legacy, and the first inaugural Benjamin Zephaniah Day, a festival of rhythm, unity, revolution here at Brunel University. My name is Danieal, and before we get started with today's interview, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background about myself and obviously the podcast as well. So myself, I'm a singer, songwriter and producer, as well as being the creator and host of Reggae Uprising podcast. Now, the podcast mission is all about creating works for intergenerational empowerment, insight and unity. Reggae Uprising podcast was created to connect the Africa and its diaspora through wisdom and understanding. Now, throughout our history, our stories have been distorted at best and destroyed at worst. So this show enables our guests to take us on a journey through their life story, through their own eyes. We are in our 5th year of Reggae Uprising podcast, and we have featured guests across the globe from places such as Jamaica, the US, Uganda, St. Croix, Ghana, Germany, Australia, Trinidad and Tobago, to name but a few. Our guests span across generations and vocations, and the connecting factor, of course, is reggae music. I'm just going to take a moment just to shut the door. Previous guests include amazing artists such as Jamason, Pressure Busspipe, Queen Omega, and we've had professors Sean Haile Mariam Sobers and Hakeem Adi, as well as second vice president of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, Reuben Kush, Dubriat Kakumo Noxid, historian Steve Martin, Sick Be Nourished charity founder Empress Zauditu, author Alex Wheatle, and politician Paulette Hamilton. Now, before we get started, I have a disclaimer, because we have to do these things in the world of podcasts. So the views and opinions expressed are those of our guests featured and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Reggae Uprising podcast or its representatives. Reggae Uprising podcast does not own any of the rights to any of the music or extracts featured. It is used only as a tool of education, upliftment and empowerment for and of people of Africa and its diaspora. If you would like to support these works, you can find the podcast if you search Reggae Uprising podcast, and you can listen to the archive of previous episodes if you just search Reggae Uprising podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, also via Danieal.live/podcast. And if you're liking the merch that I'm wearing right now, you can go to dgarms.live. Now, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest. So our guest is an author of Armand's Tale and documentary creator of Windrush Children. I would like to welcome Armand Wisdom. Greetings and welcome.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So we just heard your first selection. Can you please tell us why you chose this selection?
Well, you can't have songs about inspirational black people without starting with Bob Marley, because he's done so much for black people, not only in the West Indies, in Africa, and he was just inspiration to a lot of people.
Most definitely. So with all of our guests, whenever we feature them on Reggae Uprising podcast, this heritage is vital to telling our story. Can you share with us your own heritage?
I'll be classed as second generation Windrush. My parents were both born here, in Manchester, England. My grandparents came from Jamaica, 3 of them. 1 of them came from St. Kitts.
Okay.
They met over here. My mom's parents met over here. Fell in love over here.
So when you were growing up in your household, what were the musical influences from your parents and maybe your grandparents as well? What were the kind of songs they listened to? What kind of rings true in your head and remind you of them? You might hear certain songs and think, yeah, that reminds me of.
Or like 18 with a Bullet reminds me of my grand uncle, because those are kind of just like, it was more like ska music they used to play back then.
In terms of what they shared with you with their journey, their story, and how they came to be in the UK, what did they share with you about that journey that you feel is important that you pass on as part of your own legacy for the next generation to hear?
Well, their journey it's like it's like the world now, and everybody's moving around the world to try and get a better life for themselves, but it doesn't always work out. Governments play tricks. See, that's another reason that Bob Marley always spoke about these things, like the government and how they play with the people, and how people were manipulated into certain things. It's like when they invited us in the Windrush, it was Enoch Powell said to the West Indian people after World War II to come over, help build up the NHS and stuff like this. But their plan was really always to send them back. So when in the end they burnt all the boarding cards, it really was like, this is what you already had planned.
In terms of why your parents made the decisions that they did, and grandparents, what did they share with you about how they came to those decisions? Was it for work? Was it because family had told them about certain things? What was their experience in their journey?
When my granddad came here specifically, he was a qualified teacher, and he came over here and he ended up working in a sweets factory or something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like they wouldn't. It's not like that film with Sidney Poitier where they're gonna let a black person teach white children. It wasn't like that back then. So he had to do whatever to provide for his family. It's not like before where people could come over and then claim the children are not over here.
Mm-hmm.
Back then you had to come, work, and then send for your children if you had children and stuff like this. So it was completely harder. He ended up working for British Steel for 50 or 60 years.
Phrases or traditions that were held in your household, can you share some of those with us? So they're like, maybe that you still use today, or that remind you of your parents or grandparents, or...
There's so many sayings. If you don't listen, you must fail. There's so many. But yeah, that would probably be the main one. Like, if you play with fire, you get burned. It's always stuff like this. If you don't listen, it's going to be a bad ending.
And with the experiences that they've had,
I'd say that's because of their communication skills. Like it's not like us now. Their communication skills, like they'll just tell you phrases or tell you passages from the Bible,
mm-hmm.
and expect you to garner something out of it for it to teach you a lesson, rather than telling you what you did wrong, mm-hmm. and why they're telling you off.
We're going to go on to your next selection, which is The Melodians by the Rivers of Babylon. Please, can you share with us why you chose this selection?
That's our ancient journey. If you listen to the words, that was the ancient Hebrews that was brought out of Egypt, and this is an ancient song.
Do you think there's any connection between the experiences you had when you were younger and the experiences you had with the police? Do you think that they all interlink with each other?
Yeah, this is the system. The system sweeps certain people to cracks, and we can see this with society. It's like now with all this women's lib and disabled Olympics and stuff like this. When we was growing up, they told you not to look at disabled people. Then they could create a whole industry where you got the most successful athlete in England's disabled dude that they pin up on a horse, and then they throw money at him, but yet they can't find money for jobs for normal people, and everything's being alternated now. The whole world's a farce. It's like anyone with half a brain can see that.
And you mentioned earlier that you had interactions with the police in terms of what were those first interactions like, and how do you think that changed your day-to-day life?
Well, growing up, our parents and grandparents would never talk bad of the police, because they were religious people, even though that they were still called coons and sambos and stuff outside. They would always say, oh, it's the police, you have to listen to the police and this and that. And they would always be on the side of the authorities. The TV and stuff like this is a powerful thing, isn't it? That they can demonize your own child in the bedroom, next to the mum's bedroom, and that's the child that you raised your whole life. But these people watching TV all the time, they'll start to believe the stuff on the TV rather than the child that they grew up their whole life. Like that's my experience growing up. My mum would always believe everybody else, the teachers, the whoever.
So did your parents ever share with you, you mentioned some of the words that were used against them, did they ever share any of the stories, or did they keep that private?
No, only my granduncle told me stuff like this. My grandmother, she was in America, and my mum, she didn't really tell me anything about it.
So what did they share with you?
He just said how bad it was and how we complain and whine now. But I like I say to my uncle, it's not. Back when you came here, they would call you names, but they would give you work. You get me? Now they keep you out of work. You get me? Like they can bring in all these foreigners, Eastern Europeans and stuff like that. They'll tell you, we want to check a 5-year history of you or 5-year criminal history. But where you getting these 5-year criminal histories from all these foreign countries? Like then Interpol's not sending these people's criminal history and stuff like this. Like, we know how many criminals that the government letting over the country, but what they talk about, the people on the borders on the boats. Like, that's nothing. But that's the stories that make the newspapers all the time. These people coming on rubber dinghies. That's not what's putting the wages down in England. It's all the cheap labour that you're shipping in.
So what do you feel like the solution is?
I say to black people all the time, we have to do stuff that's worked, that's proven what our ancestors already show us. And those things are boycotts. We have to boycott stuff. We have to boycott Adidas and Nike and all these racist companies and all these makeup companies and stuff like this. Why do we wear that and support all this stuff? But there's loads of other brands.
So you're obviously in support of the Black Pound and generating wealth in the community and keeping it within the community.
It's like what Mali and the Sahel region are doing right now. Why are there not all the other African countries jumping on the same thing?
Can you explain that to people, for those that don't know? Because this is what this podcast is all about, is sharing the wisdom that you have.
In the Sahel regions, there was a so-called coup, and I'm not even sure the leader, Tory, I think his name was, he took over in Guinea-Bissau, which was one of the poorest countries. And they united with Mali and Niger, and they're just doing stuff together now. Mm-hmm. Their own economy, their own foreign policy together. In fact, there's a story in the newspaper the other day, I think, where they, I'm not sure what country it was, but one of the countries was offended, so they all three withdrew their ambassadors and said they were not going to deal with them anymore. Like, how many weapons from Ukraine have been found over there? This is where our tax money goes. This is where our tax money goes as black people. When I'm saying to you about boycotting, it's like everywhere. Like in Gambia and places like this, that we've got big populations there that are mistreated over there by the police and stuff like this. But they're not boycotting paying tax. You go into the airport, you have to pay money in and money to get out. There's no other country that I've ever been to where you have to pay money to get in and money to get out. But the money doesn't go to the people. It's criminal regimes all around the world. And when Trump says now, look, I'm going to put tariffs on people upset. But he's not even doing a reciprocal tariff, like what he's saying. Because if it was, it would be the same. You charge me 100%, I charge you 100%. You're charging him 100%, he's only going to say 50%. And people say, oh no, this ain't fair, this ain't fair economics. Why is this not fair? I'm just giving you an example. I'm talking about an example that would work all around the world. And if fairness is fairness, then why does Nike and these people still have children making trainers and stuff like this? And then saying, because that's one of the companies that took the biggest hit on the stocks, Nike, because they grow their stuff is in Thailand and Vietnam. Everybody knows that their Jordans and stuff are made by slave labor, but they still pay $200 for it, and the kids only getting what, 10 cents a day, 5 cents a day, who knows?
So do you feel a rebalance is coming?
No, not the way the numbers have worked. With what happened with COVID, the people that owned, what was it, 80% or 90% of the wealth of the world took another 5 or 8% of the wealth of the world. Everybody else is trapped. That's like we're all hamsters running on a hamster wheel.
What would you say the road to freedom is for people from your perspective?
Invest in Africa. Invest in Africa, innit? Go home, invest in Africa. Build businesses, build shops, sponsor the next generation of people who can't afford to pay school fees. Go and put boreholes. Donate your old clothing, old vehicles, books, anything.
Who are your biggest influences that have inspired your journey and empowered you?
Dr. Khalid Mohammed, Amos Wilson, Dr. Henry Clark. I could listen to biblical scriptures as well. The Bible, the Quran, the Veda. It all depends. You're supposed to get strength from anything that you do, and like our ancestors know, God's in everything and in everyone, and in all living things. So if you just like to go and sit in your garden, watch your chickens run around, or play with your dog.
So moving on from your experiences with the system and institutions, how did you navigate from that? So where did your life's journey take you to next after that experience?
Becoming a young parent. Becoming a young parent puts a lot of pressure on you. You know, you have to change your outlook. Like, everything can't just be fast. Like, you have to plan for the future. You got people depending on you. Like, you got to set an example. Like, that was my turning point.
And what vocation did you choose?
Well, I was just a young father taking care of my son and making sure he had everything. It wasn't until my daughter was born I became a lorry driver. And then they were the inspiration for me to write my first story, Almond's Tale. So I was sitting there and I was watching nonsense on the TV. And I was saying, I can write a better story than this. So I started telling them a story and I thought it was good. Wrote it down. But now I've got like 10 stories. I just need to get another artist to draw the pictures and publish them.
Can you share with us more about that story? Like if you had to sum it up?
Well, it's some people say it's like the Adam and Eve story. It's like God's promise, and that's what I can say. It's like the rabbit and the hare kind of story.
So what are the themes that run throughout the book?
Devotion and trying to follow a plan, and the plans don't always work out.
We're going to play another one of your selections, which is Peter Tosh, Not Gonna Give It Up. Please tell us why you chose this selection.
Well, the song speaks for itself, and it? Like, life's hard, you just have to keep on going and do what you can to inspire everybody else. And he's the dude that brought us Bob Marley, so you can't not have him in that.
From everything that you've experienced so far within your life's journey, what are the 3 pieces of advice that you would pass on to your own children?
Love each other. Well, they just live the example that I live, innit? You get me? Just love each other, be close with your siblings, be the example that you want everyone else to be, treat people how they treat you, and like always make your word to count. And
obviously, this show is all about continuing legacy. And what is the legacy that you hope that you achieve by the end of your life in order to pass on?
That I've built my mausoleum in Africa and we can all be buried together, or put in a mausoleum together, and where all our ancestors can come and see the pictures of us all there and sit and reminisce on us, like you're saying, with incense and listen to music, and we own that and it's there forever.
Would you like to share with our audience where they can find your works and support your works?
My work can be found at Blah Blah Man Publishing on YouTube.
Final selection is Sizzler, Solid as a Rock. Would you like to share with us why you chose this selection, please?
Oh, this is how you are. This is how Jamaican men are, and I love this song. So.
Thank you ever so much for sharing your life's journey and your works and all of your experiences. Thank you so much.
He was on Jonathan Ross, he was on Graham Norton, he was on Question Time, and then he was in every locality in the country. Story after story I've heard of him helping this writer, that writer. I worked with a guy called Christian Foley. He said that Christian said he wrote to him when Christian was about 14 and sent him some raps that he had written, and Benjamin replied, and then they were writing to each other for weeks on end, and now Christian is a performer and going about because of that one-on-one thing that he had with Benjamin. You know, the same guy, as I say, was on Jonathan Ross and Graham Norton, and he could sit there on Question Time and just talk at politicians, you know, people who puffed themselves up and thought they were so important, and Benjamin just sat there with a smile on his face and said his stuff. And I asked him once, I said, how do you do it, Benjamin? They ask me sometimes to go on Question Time, and basically, just to be crude about it, I shit myself. I just think I couldn't do it. I'd be so nervous, and also I'd just start blathering. I'd start talking about things in some kind of abstract way and trying to make things more complicated. I said, how do you do it, Benjamin? You just sort of like explain everything and it all comes clear. And he said, well, I just imagine, or I just think I'm talking to my mum. What? It's just so simple, but at the same time so Benjamin that he could explain these things, whether it was interest rates or different kinds of racism or, I don't know, foreign policy. And he was just talking with his mum on national telly. But she wasn't there. I mean, it was just so brilliant when he said that. And in fact, I'm going to tell you another story which ends up with the poem, because I'm not sure whether people have celebrated Benjamin's work for children, because that was the other thing. He was tireless in writing for them, doing workshops, working at an outfit where I work at called the Centre for Literacy and Primary Education. You can see a lovely long interview with him there. Not all that long before he died, in fact. A wonderful long interview about why he wrote, and so on. 4 children. And I was out with some children by the side of the River Thames, where the railway bridge goes over. And I don't know whether you know, but there's a law or a rule, I think maybe in the Bible, that if 30 children stand underneath a railway bridge and a train goes over, you'll know the reference from the Bible, and when the train goes over, they all go, "Wah!" all together, very, very loudly. Anyway, you'll find the reference, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, one of you. Anyway, and they do this, and I said, well, actually, you know, if you come over here and put your hands on the bit holding up the bridge, you can actually feel the train. You can actually feel the rhythm of the train. And the moment I said that, Benjamin came to my mind, because I'd once had to interview Benjamin on the radio. And I don't know whether you know how radio interviews work. You've got the cans on like this. And while they're asking the questions, the producer sometimes talks to you. So you're in fact quite muddled most of the time, at least I am anyway. And so while I was asking the questions, the interviewer said, ask him where he writes his poems. And I thought to myself, that's not going to be a very good question, because, you know, mostly poets go at home or in a book and things like that. But I asked it, I said, Benjamin, where do you write your poems? And he said, I don't write them. And there's that moment, you know, when you're interviewing people and your mouth goes dry because the whole interview has fallen apart and you're looking like complete crap. And he said, I don't write them. I thought, where am I going to go with this? So I just said, you don't write them, but thinking, who does write them? Is Benjamin got like a little team behind him? Anyway, I said, Benjamin, what do you mean? He said, I make them up in my head when I go for a run. I said, what? He said, yeah, that way I know the poem off by heart when I get to the end of the run. And I went, oh, right, yeah, duh. I said, yeah, I hadn't thought of that before. Anyway, so as I said that line, hands on the bridge, feel the rhythm of the train, I thought that could be the beginning of a poem and I could set myself the Benjamin Zephaniah challenge. Yeah? See if I can make up a poem in my head. I won't actually go for a run, that surprised you. In fact, I'll just get on the tube. Yeah, the tube, spelled C-H-U-B-E, the tube. Anyway, I always tell children this. It's every session now I do ends up being a tribute to Benjamin, you see, because I always tell this story. It's how I now open all my shows with kids. And so I said, I'll set myself the Benjamin Zephaniah challenge. So I sat on the tube and I sat there going, hands on the bridge. Next line you can go, no, you could do that. And I don't know what that looked like. There's this bloke sitting on the train going, anyway, when I got to the end of the journey, end of the tube journey, I had a poem. And it went like this. Hands on the bridge, feel the rhythm of the train. Hands on the window, feel the rhythm of the rain. Hands on your throat, feel the rhythm of your talk. Hands on your leg, feel the rhythm of your walk. Hands in the sea, feel the rhythm of the tide. Hands on your heart, feel the rhythm inside. Hands on the rhythm, feel the rhythm of the rhyme. Hands on your life, feel the rhythm of time. So, it worked.
Given his background, I think he was a very good example of the triumph of talent and personality over circumstances. Well, I was supposed to do 20 minutes, but I don't think my voice is going to last that long. So I'll see how I get on. But I'm gonna do Sonny's Letter, because a lot of people know that poem, and it was one of my 70s poems that came out on my album Forces of Victory, and it came out of the campaign to get rid of the infamous sus laws where the black youth of my generation were criminalized for attempting to steal from persons unknown. Brixton Prison, Jeb Avenue, London Southwest 2, England. Dear Mama, good day. I hope that when these few lines reach you, they may find you in the best of health. Mama, I really don't know how to tell you this, cause I did make a solemn promise to take care of little Jim and try my best to look out for him. Mama, I really did try my best, but nonetheless, I'm sorry to tell you, sir, poor little Jim get a rest. It was the middle of the rush hour when everybody just a hustle and a bustle to go home for them evening shower. Me and Jim stand up waiting for a bus, not causing no fuss, when all of a sudden a police van pull up. Out jump 3 policemen, all of them carrying baton. Them walk straight up to me and Jim. One of them hold on to Jim, say I'm taking him in. Jim tell him to let go of him, for him not do nothing. And him not a thief, not even a button. Well, Jim start to wriggle. The police start to giggle. Mama, make I tell you what them do to Jim. Mama, make I tell you what them do to him. Them thump him in him belly and it turn to jelly. Them lick him pon him back and him rib get pop. Them lick him pon him head but it tough like lead. Them kick him in him seed and it started to bleed. Mama, I just couldn't stand up there and do nothing. So me juke one in him eye and him started to cry. Me thump one in him mouth and him started to shout. Me kick one pon him chin and him started to spin. Me thump him pon him chin and him drop on a bin and crash and dead. Mama, more policemen come down and beat me to the ground. Them charge Jim for sus. Them charge me for murder. Mama, don't fret. Don't get depressed and downhearted. Be of good courage till I hear from you. I remain your son, Sonny.
What a legend, what a message, what a legacy. Thank you so much. I feel very honoured to be invited here today. And it's been a very strange day. I was back in Parliament this morning on a Saturday morning. There you go. Somebody gets all the fun. And then I've had some local things and I've come here today. There's so much I'd love to say. Principally, the point is that to me, poetry is an inspiration and inspires so much in my life and in the lives of millions of people. It's a release for young people going through stress, to write a poem about their lives, about the stress, about the fears, about the horrors that they live so often. And it's about older people reflecting on their lives. And the great thing about poetry is you can mix up all the words. It doesn't have to rhyme, it doesn't have to have meter, it doesn't have to stick to a specific subject, it doesn't even have to be accurate. It's a way of bringing stuff together. And when we produced this book, Poetry for the Many, I didn't realise the effect that poetry and poetry events can have. We've been doing poetry events all over the country with this book, where we read a few poems, then invite the audience to discuss them, or read their own poems, which they often do, particularly the young people. Absolutely fascinating. It's a sense of release that it brings. We need a society where there's more poets. We need a society where there's more artists. We need a society where there's more imagination. And that is so much of what we lose and so much of what we could get. Now, there's lots of Ben's works that one could read, and I think the most nice experience I had over the sort of Christmas New Year period, I went to Birmingham for Robin Campbell's 70th birthday. Robin Campbell of UB40, you know UB40, of course. The room or the place where the party was held was so ram-packed with all of Birmingham's music talent. You could hardly get in, and once you got in, you couldn't get out. So there you were. And then, before that, we went to see the Science Museum in Birmingham, and on the walls, all along outside it, are panels and panels and panels of Ben's poems. Absolutely fantastic. So I spent half of the time just reading those and photographing them all. They're absolutely wonderful. What I want to do now, because I know you've got other things to do, I just want to briefly do two things. One is to read a short poem that Ben wrote that I think is an absolute message of the times. You might feel annoyed, you might feel angry, you might feel depressed, you might feel disempowered. What is power? It's you, it's me, it's you, it's you, it's you, it's us together. It's our imagination, it's our unity, it's our determination, and our belief that nobody should ever be forgotten and left behind, be they somebody sleeping rough on the street or going through a hell of a depression alone in their home. We need a society that's inclusive of all of them, and we share the wealth out for all of them. So, the poem of Ben's I want to read is this. I had to write it out by hand because I couldn't work out how to electronically transfer it from the bit I read it on onto my phone. And so as we're coming here in the car, I had to write it out in my notebook. Sorry about that. So if I misread any of it, the problem is my handwriting. If only we could really see the roots, the trees, and the wood for the trees. If only we could really taste the fruits of our labour, not bitter waste. If only we could really smell the scent of roses and what they really tell. If only we could really hear the sound of resistance getting louder in our ears. If only we could really feel the urge to unite and stand heel to heel. If only we could really do. Wait, hold on. What's stopping you?
Benjamin wrote this poem. It was really in previous COVID time, and he read the news saying that everybody wants to go back to normal. And Benjamin just think, what is normal? Normal brought us here, so he wrote this poetry called Back to What? Back to basics, back to cup, back to S stage, back to what? Back to basics, back to flag, back to stone stage, back to what? Back to basics, back to your knee, back to the disease, back to what? Back to basics, back to sneeze, back if you please, back to what? Back to basics, back to crater, back to Africa, back to what? Back to basics, back to black, back to what? I want to say, now we are back into Brunel University, because really Brunel University gave Benjamin the professorship, and Benjamin taught here 13 years and a half. Because it's next term, he was preparing to come back to continue work, but he got really sick. Even he got really sick, he was still doing the student work. He loved this job. He wants to show his knowledge, his skill, and to teach young generations to Uprising, pick up. Yeah, thank you. And I think now I need to hold it. Oh yeah, I need to hold it back. Well, I prepared another poem. Actually, this is the only 3 poems that I can remember in my brain. If not, I can just read through the paper. The thing really I don't like, because always you can see Benjamin perform. He never hold a phone, never hold a piece of paper. He will around the stage and jump and communicate with you. I don't have that skill. I'm trying to learning that. Well, I'm far away from that. I will learn. I think everybody will learn. Benjamin always say that we should never stop educate ourselves. And that's why he got his level of the education, although he didn't go to university, but he educated himself a lot. And when we were together, he educated me. You know, when we were in sauna, we listened to the Radio 4. Benjamin will pick up a talk and ask me my opinion. I said, I don't understand what they are talking. Can you explain what this word means? He will explain the word. I explain what's the topic. I said, Benjamin, you know, sauna is a place for us to relax. You got me nervous. But, you know, this is the way he educated himself. Even recently, there's an audiobook. The other day, I went to his audiobook. There are over 100 audiobooks. And I know where he was mowing the lawn, he put the earphone and he was listening to that. That's how he, you know, he loved to read, he loved to get the knowledge, and he loved to talk to people. I think most of you are here, some of you talk to him. When you talk to him, you can never leave. That's the one thing I really don't like. Because where he was talking, there's 1 hour, 2 hours, I was waiting. Benjamin, come on, we got to go. I want to go to the shop, buy the new nice dress. But, you know, that's what Benjamin. He learned from people, he learned from the book, and he educated himself. That's why he's a professor. I want to update a news. Everybody say, oh, Benjamin got 13 honorary doctorates. Benjamin got 19 honorary doctorates. That's what I thought. And really, now we organize the Benjamin Zephaniah Day, and Danieal asked me, oh, can you take the photo? And then we can show it. I said, okay. When I took it, I counted. Because I got 20 photos. He got 20 honorary doctorates. I mean, you know, even I'm not a PhD. When we met, I tried to study hard. I want to be a PhD. I took 3 times test. I didn't get it. I'm so jealous. And Benjamin said, oh, you know, you really need to study by yourself to, what is word? Overstanding? I don't know what that says, sorry. But now my brain just go blank. Yeah, let me do the poem, which is who is who. I used to think nurses were women. I used to think police were men. I used to think poets were boring, until I became one of them.
True revolutionary, he was a true revolutionary. Sing it out. He was a true revolutionary, a Rasta man. Sing with me. True revolutionary, he was a true revolutionary. Yeah, he was a true revolutionary, a Rasta man. One more time. Was a cool revolutionary. Alright, he was a true revolutionary. Tell them. He was a true revolutionary. A Rasta man. Thank you.